Dark is kind. When the very last firework had faded away, Mr. Barn Owl turned to Plop. "Well, son," he said, "I'm off hunting now. Would you like to come?" Plop looked up. I know, she's here. She's always here. She hears me reading stories and she thinks, I'll have some of that. Plop looked up, looked at the darkness. Oh, sorry. Well, should we start again with the dog here? Okay. Dark is kind. When the very last firework had faded away, Mr. Barn Owl turned to Plop. "Well, son," he said, "I'm off hunting now. Would you like to come?" Plop looked at the darkness all around them. It seemed even blacker after the bright fireworks. Not this time, thank you, Daddy. I can't see. I've got stars in my eyes." "I see," said his father. "In that case, I shall have to go by myself." He floated off into the darkness like a great white moth. "I wanted to go." Plop turned in distress to his mother. "I wanted to go with him. I want to like the dark. It's just that I don't seem to be able to." "You will be able to, Plop. I'm quite sure about that." "I'm not sure," said Plop. "Well, I am," said his mother said. "Now, come on, you'd better have your rest. You were awake half the day." So Plop had his midnight rest, and when he woke up, his father was back with his dinner. Plop swallowed it in one huge gulp. "That was nice," he said. "What was it?" "A mouse," said Mr. Barn Owl. "I like mouse," said Plop. "What's next?" "I have no idea," his father said. "It's Mummy's turn now. You'll have to wait until she gets back." Plop was always hungry, and his mother and father were kept very busy bringing him food all night long. When daylight came, they were very tired and just wanted to go to sleep. "Bedtime, Plop," said Mrs. Barn Owl. "I don't want to go to bed," said Plop. "I want to be a day bird." "Well, I am a night bird," said his mother, "and if your father and I don't get any sleep today, you won't get anything to eat tonight." Plop did not like the sound of that at all, so he drew himself up straight and tall, well, as tall as he could, and tried to go to sleep. He did sleep for half the morning, but then he woke up full of beans. Or perhaps it was mouse, and he just could not go back to sleep. He jiggled up and down on the branch where his poor parents were trying to roost. He practiced standing on one leg and taking off and landing and other important things that a little owl has to learn to do. Then he thought he would try out his voice. He tried to make a real grown-up barn owl noise. "Eek!" he screeched. "Eek!" It sounded like the noise a cat makes if you accidentally tread upon its tail. Plop was very pleased with it. Mrs. Barn Owl was not. She half opened one bleary eye. "Plop, dear," she said, "wouldn't you like to go down into the world again and find out some more about the dark?" "Now," said Plop. "Now," said his mother. "Don't you want to hear my screech first? It's getting jolly good." "I heard it," Mrs. Barn Owl said. "Look, there's an old lady in a deck chair down there in that garden. Go and find out what she thinks about the dark." So Plop shut his eyes and took a deep breath and fell off his branch. He did not get his wings working in time. He fell faster and faster and finally plunged to the old lady's feet with an earth-shaking thump. "Gracious!" cried the old lady. "A thunderbolt!" Actually, I'm a barn owl," said the thunderbolt when he got his breath back. "Really?" said the old lady, peering at Plop over the top of her glasses. "I do beg your pardon. My eyes are not as good as they used to be. How very nice of you to drop in." "Well, it wasn't nice of me exactly," Plop said truthfully. "I came to ask you about something." "Did you?" said the old lady. "Now, what could that be, I wonder?" "I wanted to ask you about the dark. You see, I'm a bit afraid of it, and that's rather awkward for an owl. We're supposed to be night birds." "That's a problem," said the old lady. "Have you tried carrots?" "What?" "Don't say what. Say, I beg your pardon, if you don't hear the first time. I said, have you tried carrots? Wonderful things, carrots." "I don't think owls have carrots. Not barn owls, anyway." "Oh, a pity. I've always sworn by carrots for helping one to see in the dark." "I can see in the dark," said Plop. "I can see for miles and miles." "Now, don't boast. It's not nice for little boys to boast." The old lady leaned forward and peered closely at Plop. "I suppose you are a little boy? It's so difficult to tell these days. They all look the same." "Yes," said Plop. "I'm a baby owl, a boy owl, and I want to go hunting with Daddy, but he always goes hunting in the dark, and I'm afraid of it." How very odd, said the old lady. Now I love the dark. I expect you will when you're my age. The dark is kind. Tell me, Plop said. Please, said the old lady. Such a little word, but it works wonders. Tell me, please, said Plop obediently. Well now, the old lady began. Dark is kind in all sorts of ways. Dark hides things like shabby furniture, the hole in the carpet. It hides my wrinkles and my gnarled old hands. I can forget that I'm old in the dark. I don't think owls get wrinkles, said Plop. Not barn owls, anyway. They just get a bit moth-eaten looking. Don't interrupt, said the old lady. It's very rude to interrupt. Where was I? Yes, dark is kind when you're old. I can sit in the dark and remember. I remember my husband and my children when they were small and all the good times we had together. I'm never lonely in the dark. I haven't much to remember yet, said Plop. I'm rather new, you see. Dark is quiet too, said the old lady, looking hard at Plop. Dark is restful, unlike a little owl I know. Me, said Plop. You, said the old lady. When I was a little girl, children were seen but not heard. I'm not children, said Plop. I'm a barn owl. Same thing, said the old lady. You remind me very much of my son William when he was about 4. He had the same knackety knees. Are my knees knackety? Asked Plop, squinting downwards. I can't see them. My tummy gets in the way. Very, said the old lady, but I expect they'll straighten out in time. William's did. Now, I'm going indoors to have a little rest. Plop was surprised. I thought it was only owls who slept in the daytime, he said. Are you a night bird too? The old lady smiled. No, just an old bird. A very tired old bird. Goodbye then. I'll go now, said Plop. Thank you for telling me about the dark. He fluttered up onto the old lady's shoulder and nibbled her ear very gently. The old lady was enchanted. Oh, an owl kiss! How very kind! Plop jumped down again and bobbed his funny little bow. Such charming manners, said the old lady. Then Plop took a little run, spread his wings, and flew up to the landing branch. Well, said his mother, the old lady says dark is kind. And what do you think, Plop? I still do not like it at all. Do you think my knees are knackety? Of course, said his mother. All little barn owls have knackety knees. Oh, good, said Plop. And what do you think the old lady said? She said children should be seen, but not heard. Mr. Barn Owl opened one sleepy eye. Hear, hear, he said. Dark is fun. That evening, when it was getting dark, Mr. Barn Owl invited Plop to go hunting with him again. Coming, son, he said. It's a lovely night. Not this time, thank you, Daddy, said Plop, who was sitting just outside the nest hole. I'm busy. You don't look busy, Mr. Barn Owl said. What are you doing? I am busy remembering, said Plop. I see, said his father. In that case, I shall have to go by myself. He swooped off into the darkness like a great silent jet aeroplane. What are you remembering, Plop? Asked his mother. I'm remembering what the old lady said about dark being kind. She says she is never lonely in the dark because she has so much to remember. Well then, said Mrs. Barn Owl, this would seem to be a good moment for me to slip out and do a little hunting. You're not going to leave me by myself, said Plop. I shan't be very long. I shall bring you something nice. But I shall be lonely. No, you won't. You just keep busy remembering like the old lady said. Plop watched his mother float off into the darkness like a white feather. The darkness seemed to come towards him and wrap itself around him. Dark is kind, Plop muttered to himself. Dark is kind. Oh dear, what shall I remember? He closed his eyes and tried to remember something. To remember. Fireworks. He'd remember the fireworks. He'd enjoyed them. The darkness had been spotted and striped and splashed with coloured lights above the glow of the bonfire. He still had stars in his eyes when he thought of it. Shouts, happy shouts from under his tree brought Plop back from his remembering. He opened his eyes and peered down through the leaves. There were people running about in his field, and flames were flickering from a pile of sticks. Another bonfire! Did that mean more fireworks? Plop watched excitedly. He could see now that the people were running about were boys, quite big boys in shorts. They were collecting more wood for the fire. Suddenly they all disappeared into the woods with squeals and yells. All but one, that is. There was one boy left, sitting on a log near the fire. Plop forgot about being afraid of the dark. He had to know what was going on, so he shut his eyes, took a deep breath, and fell off his branch. The ground was nearer than he expected it to be, and he landed with an enormous thud. "Cool," said the boy on the log. "A roly-poly pudding. Who threw that?" "Nobody threw me. I just came," said the roly-poly pudding. "And actually, I'm a barn owl." "So you are," said the boy. "Have you fallen out of your nest?" Plop drew himself up as tall as he could. "I did not fall, I flew," he said. "I'm just not a very good lander, that's all. I came to see if you were going to have fireworks, as a matter of fact." "Fireworks?" said the boy. "No. What made you think that?" "Well, the bonfire," Plop said. "Bonfire?" said the boy. "This is no bonfire. This is a campfire, and I'm guarding it until the others get back." "Where have they gone?" asked Plop. "They've gone to play games in the dark, lucky things." "Do you like playing games in the dark?" asked Plop. "It's super," said the boy. "Dark is fun." Quite ordinary games like hide and seek are fun in the dark. My favourite is the game where one of you stands outside a home with a torch in his hand and shines it on anything he sees or hears moving. The rest of you have to creep past him and home without being spotted. It's super. There was a crash and a yell of "Scumbo, got you!" from the wood. They're playing it now. Old Scumbo always gets caught first. He's got such big feet. You have to creep like a shadow not to be caught. Oh, it would be my turn to guard the fire. "What's the fire for?" asked Plop. "Well, we cook potatoes in it and make cocoa and sing round it." "What for?" "What for? Because it's fun, that's why. And because Boy Scouts have always had campfires." "Is that what you are? A Boy Scout?" "Of course, silly, or I wouldn't be here, would I? I must put some more wood on the fire." Plop watched the Boy Scout build up the fire. Could I be a Boy Scout, do you think?" he asked. "I doubt it," said the Scout. "You're a bit on the small side. I suppose you could be a cub, but you'd have to be 8 years old." "I'm 8 weeks," said Plop. Looks as you'll have a long wait then, doesn't it?" said the Scout. "Anyway," he grinned, "you'd look jolly silly in the uniform." Plop looked so disappointed that the Scout had, "Never mind. You can stay for the sing-song tonight." "Oh, can I?" cried Plop. "That would be so super." "You'd better go home and ask your mother first, though." So Plop flew up to the nest hole and found his mother waiting. "Where have you been?" she said. She sounded a bit cross, like all mothers when they've been worried. "I've been talking to a Boy Scout, and he says dark is fun, and he says I can stay for the campfire, so can I, Mummy, please?" "Well, yes, all right," she said. "Oh, super," said Plop. So Plop was a Boy Scout for the night. He sat on his new friend's shoulder and was introduced to all the others. They made a great fuss of him and he had a wonderful time. He did not care for cocoa, but he enjoyed a small potato. His friend blew on it for him to cool it because he knew that owls swallowed their food whole and a hot potato in the tummy would have been very uncomfortable for Plop. The Scouts huddled round the fire and sang while sparks danced. They sang funny songs and sad songs, long songs and short songs. Plop did not sing because he wanted to listen, but every now and then he got a bit excited and fluttered round the boys' heads, crying, "Eek, eek," and everybody laughed. They sung until the fire had sunk to a deep red glow and Plop had turned quite pink in its light. Then it was time to go home, for the boys and for Plop. When Plop had said goodbye to them all and bowed till he ached, he spread his wings and flew up to the landing branch. "Well," said his mother, "I told you, the Boy Scout says dark is fun." "And what do you think, Plop?" "I still do not like it at all, but I think campfires are super. Did you bring me something special?" "I did." Plop swallowed it in one gulp. "That was nice," he said. "What was it?" "A grasshopper." "I like grasshopper," said Plop. "What's next?" Look what happened to my doggy while I was reading that. She's having a little sleep. You say bye, Mace.